Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and I welcome all of you back to our Metallica discography. So, what is a discography, you may be asking yourself, guys, and what are we doing here again? Well, allow me to explain. By Christmas Day of this year, I plan on putting a little bow and sewing up every single thing we've got to do that's left with Metallica, because I think we'll come full circle, and the only way to do that is to release a video on Christmas Day of this year, simply titled, Every Metallica Song Ranked from Worst to Best. I think you could possibly hazard a guess as to what exactly that entails. All 120 songs ranked. And the best way to keep these in our mind is to see exactly what everything has got to offer, just so it all makes sense and everything gets judged accordingly. And I said at the end of the last video, guys, that this is the song that is going to throw everything into question. Because, well, allow me to give you a little bit of a backstory, is that when I first listened to Disposable Heroes all the way back July 27th, 2018, this was the song that I cried on camera for. This was the song that brought me to my knees, because, boy, and even saying that now, I'm even getting a little bit emotional, and we haven't even started. And to be honest, any time I've had to talk about Disposable Heroes afterwards, it always has brought across very, very distinct emotions. And for those who know what the song is, I'm sure you probably, like, for those who don't know, I'll just say it's a very anti-war song. Probably, maybe even more so than their other famous anti-war song. But I have to ask the question, because I remember saying all the way back in 2018 that this, for me, was my favourite Metallica song. And after all these years, I think it still is. And to be honest, the only reason we're sort of doing this anyway is because I still have to ask the question, because legitimately, with everything we've talked about so far and everything that's coming up, I still have to know whether this really is the best of the best. Because there's a part of me deep down that says that ignoring nostalgia and what I personally feel about the song, as just aside for 1 second, it's still fantastic on its own, and there's no denying that. And I think it's because actually Master of Puppets might just be the greatest collection of the best songs that Metallica ever did, or at least the best that can be put onto one disc. Maybe not some of my favourites, and because there are, like I said, guys, there's a lot coming up. But insofar as Disposable Heroes is concerned, is this it? Is this the best that it gets? Or the very best of the best? Well, I think there's only one way of finding out, and that is whether or not my feelings are still under control. Because whether it's Metallica or whether it's Chimera or anyone else that's ever covered this song, they bring a level of fury, the kind of which you simply cannot comprehend. Especially in this day and age, ladies and gentlemen, in 2026, where we began with the biggest uprising in movement insofar as the Iranian Revolution is concerned, the biggest outbreak of fighting across West Asia, the explosion in fuel prices, the explosion in rioting, the explosion in martial law, an explosion in forced conscription. Is this going to become the generation of the disposable? The generation of soldier boys, all made of clay, now nothing more than empty shells? Well, let's see if they serve us well. Oh boy. It's yours to take away. The saga never ends. I kill.
or dying. Life played out before my birth. Nothing good I say. Had no chance to see myself molded day by day. Looking back, I realize nothing have I done. Left to die with only friends. Alone I cleanse my gun. Soldier boy, made of clay. Now an empty shell. 21, only son. But he served us well. Right to kill, not to care. Do just as we say. Finish him, bring down the young to take away. Back to the front, you will do what I say. When I say back to the front, you will die. When I say you must die. Back to the front, you coward, you servant, you blind man.
Back to the front.
Back to the front. Back to the front. Back to the front. Back to the front.
Right, oh dear, ladies and gentlemen, and yeah, I am going to, yeah, you see, this is just straight up what I'm, let me just, okay, so I'm gonna have to just straight up go with my gut feelings, so to speak, so, and yeah, I think, you would probably understand this too, because listen, I think my absolute favourite type of metal song you could ever do, whether it's symphonic, heavy, death, funeral, sludge, all that. But my absolute favourites are anything that has anything to do with war. Because whether it's for or against, there are so many ways to depict human tragedy and war. And honestly, with the fullness of time, stuff like this almost becomes almost like prophecy, so to speak. And just to borrow from another example, don't look now to Israel, it might be your homeland. And I think in many ways, you know what, they're absolutely right. Because it's not just the sort of thing that happens in faraway places, it's actually something that happens quite a lot closer to home, and actually affects people closer to home than even they would like to admit. So I think from almost like a universality point of view, war is one of those things that you never stop hearing about, and it's almost impossible to take your mind away from. It is everywhere, happening all the time. And I think perhaps maybe one of the most understated part, and something I've never really had to talk about before, but I may as well mention it anyway, but probably the most understated part of the entire song is almost towards the very end. Left to die, I realize, nothing have I done, alone I press my gun. As in, he has succumbed to doom, and the only thing to do is, well, you know what I mean? That's the only other way I can put it, is because, well, surrounded by death, carnage, destruction, but for what? And this is something that I explained when I did the very first video for Disposable Heroes, I explained it's not just for the allies, but it's also for even the opposition. As far as they're concerned, what exactly are they fighting for? Or do they even know what exactly they are doing? Because it's just the case anywhere else in the world, it would seem. You may say, because guess what? If they said no, then guess what? They're just about done for. And bear in mind, considering that, let's just do this one more time before we finish. It's been nearly 8 years since I started doing this platform. Just consider what's been going on all over the world. Uprisings in Hong Kong and Singapore, the Russian invasion of the Ukraine, the intense warfare that's kicked off between Israel and Palestine, the third Sudanian civil war, in which the whole world has seemed to have completely forgotten Sudan's existence. Then you have a series of horrific infighting all across West Asia. Then you have conflicts between the borders of the likes of Thailand, Vietnam, Cambodia. Fighting there is going on all the time. And then you even have infighting what's going on in the United States for what seems like the United States government and the ICE up against anyone who dares defy them. And even things that are even closer to home here in the United Kingdom. Nations are divided in terms of, well, what exactly people are divided on, I have absolutely no idea. But everybody is feeling the strain, and tempers, even at this stage, are beginning to warm up. You know what, we're entering, as of the recording of this video, even by about 6:30 in the morning, it's already starting to feel rather hot. But let me tell you something right now. For months before this, and for many years after this, tempers are already becoming rather short. And what sort of fighting this will all lead up to is, again, the thing I mentioned about conscription is now starting to go up all across the world. It makes me wonder, what exactly are we? What is going to happen? And I don't really know if anyone can have any sort of clue as to what's going to happen. Because bear in mind, guys, we've also talked about war, but bear in mind, I've been through an entire pandemic since I started this. And I worked as I was a key worker. I played a role in making sure people were safe throughout the pandemic for 3 whole years. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not gonna be one of those people who start saying, "Well, where's my parade then?" I would like a parade, just saying. But I will say, you know what? It's just it's a very retrospective thing, this whole experience, because through war, death, and destruction, as was almost prophesied and warned all the way back in 1986, here we are in 2026, 40 years on, and what else is going on in the world apart from death, carnage, death, destruction, mayhem, and benign, unholy terror? And where does it all end? Well, like I said, alone I realise and alone I press my gun. But with all that being said, let's just move on to something a little bit more cheery, by the way, because, well, it's the most blatant, looking you in the face sort of song you can imagine, and it's stuff as well when we talk about war. It's the sort of thing that makes you sit up straight and you face the reality of the world you're living in very, very quickly. But speaking of the reality that we live in, I still have a task to complete, and that is, where does Disposable Heroes rank in this little tier list? Because what I actually did is that before I did the very first song, before I even did Hit the Lights, I did a tier list on Tier Maker, and I ranked all 120 songs a little bit beforehand. But one of one of the really good ideas that we could do with going through each song over and over again, or at least once, I suppose, because that's pretty much all we need. It means that I get to move things around accordingly. Maybe X is better than Y because of A, B, and C. Maybe D is worse than Y because of D, E, and F. So it means that not everything on this list is going to stay in the same place for too long. And the top tier for this list I've reserved specifically to top 10 songs. And in order to save about as much tension as possible, I don't release or hint as to what like the top 10 or probably even what the top 20 is going to look like. That's more to drive up suspension and tension, so to speak. There's more tension in this than in my bra strap. But with that being said, I think that is just about where it's going to be. So there it is. Mind you, we're only just now halfway through Disposable Hero, Master of Puppets, and with 3 songs left to go. Is there still contention for the top spot? I think there is, certainly. So with all that being said, I will see all of you guys again next time. Thank you.